propaganda agent in the United States.
He was known for being a spy during World War I, and then in the run-up to World War II, he's at it again.
He's at it again.
Actually convicted of spying, Viereck gets off on legal technicalities and goes on to run an operation directly linked to Capitol Hill.
They'd get Nazi propaganda into the United States. They'd persuade a member of Congress or a senator to put his or her name on it, insert it into the congressional record. Once it's in the congressional record, they can send it out in bulk all over the United States.
Maddow calls out World War II era senators like Ernest Blandine of Minnesota and Burton Wheeler of Montana, as well as House member Hamilton Fish III of New York, as being in cahoots with Viereck.
U.S. indicts its top fascists.
But when the federal government finally indicts some 24 people, including George Sylvester Viereck and several congressional staffers, in a seditious conspiracy,
Why are none of the members of Congress indicted?
Good question. A lot of pressure was put on the Justice Department by members of Congress who are implicated in this scheme.
And even that case sputters.
The trial is chaos, bedlam, a circus. The prosecution is actually presenting a pretty compelling case. And 7 months into it, the judge dies.
That's right, the judge dies from a heart attack. And after hemming and hawing for a few years, the Justice Department decides not to spend time retrying the case.
And the American people start to turn their attention to the war rather than to any sort of fight like this at home.
In 35 U.S. cities, Bunds headed by local Gruppenführers.
Though Maddow's book takes place 3/4 of a century ago, there's a reason it's called prequel. After all, it was written in the wake of the attack on the United States Capitol. Do you think we are now seeing a resurgence of fascism in our country?
I think we are seeing another iteration of the ultra-right. And it has a lot of the elements that are the most worrying things that you look for when you're looking at a democracy that's in trouble of yielding to authoritarianism. We see violence intruding into the political process. We see the scapegoating of minorities and dangerous conspiracy theories about
a rise in anti-Semitism.
Rising anti-Semitism is an absolute red flag. Anti-Semitism almost always goes with the rise in fascist ideation. And it's just something that we can't ignore. There's a history here that we ought to learn from. Americans before us, just as smart, just as resourceful, just as funny, just as clear-minded as any of us could ever hope to be, fought those fights before us. We can learn from what they did.